The best part of being a student at Amrita University, especially the Amritpuri campus, is our access to some of the most intellectual and peaceful minds in India. But what's the use if we just take the lessons to live from our classrooms and leave the campus without taking the lessons for life from their experiences? This podcast, Path Ahead, will help you to meet our faculty outside the classroom. I'm Chechala Santosh Kumar, and let's start the podcast.
Joining with me in this episode as a co-host is one of my extremely talented classmates and a lovely woman, Athira Dineshan. So, welcome to the podcast, Athira. Thank you for co-hosting the episode.
Hi Santosh, thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Our guest today has been a part of Amrita since 2000. Our batch and the previous one have known her as a powerhouse of CSC department. She is doing her PhD in cybersecurity and artificial intelligence at Deakin University, Australia. Our guest today is Assistant Professor Gayatri RG. So, hello, ma'am, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Santosh and Netra. Nice meeting you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Same ma'am. So let's move on to the questions, shall we?
Yeah.
So ma'am, can you give us a glimpse of your childhood? Your schooling, your favorite subjects, and all those.
Yeah, very happy to share with you this childhood stories because it is nostalgic too. Like I was born in Kerala. I lived in a small town called Alapi, very scenic place. So I studied in Chinmaya Vidyalaya there. So starting from my childhood, I did not have an aspiration towards medicine or anything, even though my parents wanted to see me as a doctor. So after towards the end of the school, the turning point, we have to take a decision what to do next. So even at that time, I liked max a lot. So at that time, we didn't have this plus two all and other levels. It was pre-degree. It was being done in the colleges. So there were four groups like max, science, and other groups. So I joined for max in Sanatana Dharma College, that is SD College in Alapi. So, like that in college and school, I don't say I was always a front bencher, though I didn't went backwards all the time, but I was good in my studies.
So, which subjects fascinated you the most?
I liked maths,
Mm-hmm.
then physics and chemistry.
Oh, that's great.
So then languages also, but I'm not a biology or other kind of person.
Oh.
So later, yeah.
Okay, ma'am, can you tell me about your college life? And you did so many degrees. What kept motivated you to do many degrees?
It was not like so many degrees. Actually, it was a journey. It was not so planned or anything. So after my pre-degree, I joined Amrita Institute of Computer Technology at Amritapuri itself for my BSc in software systems. So at that time, it was a collaborative venture between the Bharatiya University and Amrita institutions. So it was in 2000-2003 period where we didn't have the Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham University or the Amrita University. So I finished my BSc there. Then I wanted to join my master's in computer applications. So I joined in our Etimade campus. It was at that time under Bharatiya University itself.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. We were the first Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham batch for MCA.
Oh, that's great.
So I did my MCA in Etimadai.
Mm-hmm.
So since it was the first course and the first time the faculty is doing this course for a deemed university, it was a learning for both of us. The credit systems and the way we progress now, the CGPA system, everything. It was a nice experience. And from there only, we started hearing about the placement, then what we are going to do next. So always when it comes towards the second year, we start thinking what next.
True.
So then we started the soft skills training, then the analytical training, everything. The placement cell was awesome as it is present also. So like that, we did the training, everything, and we started the journey towards the IT industry.
But then why CSE, ma'am? Like you said you love Max, but then why CSE?
Nice question, Adira. Now I can tell you strongly that CSE is equal to max.
True.
At that time, I was not so much aware of that, but now it's very clear. But not because of that knowledge I went for that. It was a booming of IT industry at that time. So
Oh,
everybody, it was like a common thing to go for computer science,
oh,
though not easy. I did not join for the BTech. I actually got an admission in Tamil Nadu engineering colleges, but my parents, I was the only daughter for my parents, and that too at their older ages. So they didn't want me to send outside or anything. So when at that time only, Amrita has started the BSc program. So like that only, I joined for Amrita, this bachelor's in Amrita itself.
oh, okay. Also, there are like a lot of branches in CSE, right? Within CSE, artificial
Yeah.
intelligence, cyber security. So,
Yeah.
if you were asked to choose one field, just one out of those, which one would you choose?
Nowadays, Atira, even though they say it's different branches, as you have
Mhm.
mentioned, artificial intelligence, the other things, it all comes under the same umbrella.
Okay.
Okay, so when I say I love data science, it's actually a combination of many things. So you cannot say you have to
Mm-hmm.
skip all the basic computer
Yes.
science. If you have to get to know the other stuff, you should have that basic fundas of all the other things.
So it's a combination of technologies, almost
Yes,
everything.
yes. Then only you can say I like this or I do that or this. Because one thing I can tell you, like in my masters, when I did it in Amritapuri campus during the MTech time,
Mm-hmm.
I was unaware of all the things that is being taught in MTech. So it was
Okay.
actually a transition for me. I did my first masters in masters of computer applications, where everything is based on the application side. We don't have much towards the what
Oh, okay.
technical side. So it's like when I started the masters of technology, it takes in details of other things like algorithms, data structures, everything.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so there you go for a specialization. You can say this is this and this is that.
Mm-hmm.
So like that. I don't know whether I answered your question correctly.
Yes, ma'am. We get
Yes.
it. Yes.
So, ma'am, you also worked in TCS. So, what made you to leave the corporate sector, come back to Amrita, do your MTech, and then shift to teaching sector?
Very interesting question, Santosh. As I told you, it's a journey. Like I joined TCS, so as all the people do, I also got married. I got a child. So at that time, I was in TCS, and it was very difficult for me to manage both the things together. So initially, after my maternity leave, I joined TCS back. So I found it very hard to manage my child, my household, my job, everything. So I was on leave for quite a long time. Then I joined back. So the project which I joined was for a US client. So it's pretty clear like the time zone between India and US is not matching all the time. So I had to go for meetings at 10 o'clock. It was not work from home at the present situation. Like that, I thought of switching to something. Then I joined Amrita Center for Cybersecurity before that, before my master's.
Oh, yeah.
It was a great transition for me from the industry to academia.
So, could you tell us a bit about your area of research and PhD?
Yeah, like I did my master's. The specialization was machine learning. So, machine learning is a very sort of kind of thing nowadays. So, that is what Adira I told you. Like, when you say machine learning, it comes into data analysis, it's data science, it is artificial intelligence, everything. It's just the buzzwords they give here.
Mm-hmm.
Underlying things would be the same. Like, I can tell you, like, I do cyber analytics. So it's nothing but cybersecurity combined with machine learning technologies or artificial intelligence technologies.
That's nice.
Yeah, before this, it was on this complex network analysis. My master's thesis was on complex network analysis for telecommunication networks. So telecommunication networks, we don't get the data from the real world. So somehow we managed to get the data within our university itself, and it was based on some agreements and confidentiality stuff. So like that, we managed to come out with some good publications. So it was the strong support from Dr. Jyotisha and Dr. Kaimal. So then after this, I tried to get a PhD abroad. Like that, I ended up here.
So, ma'am, like we know that we should write GRE, etc., to get into foreign universities. I mean, since you have done relatively lot of degrees compared to us, so it would be really helpful for students like us to know how to approach and how to choose which degree we should do next.
I cannot say which degree you have to choose or what. I can tell you one thing, like if you have to focus on your next step, you have to be a bit prepared from your previous step itself. Like when you want to go for a master's, now you have completed your BTech, just sit and do a self introspection. What are you going to do next? If you are trying to get into the industry, so you have to think in that way. If you are going to progress towards the academia, you have to progress in that way. Like industry means they don't expect you to be more research oriented. If you are knowledgeable, if you have strong programming skills and the fundamental knowledge about the area where you have to work, well and good, you can. But if you are trying for a academia based thing like PhD or into the what in the universities as a teacher, if you foresee yourself as a teacher, university lecturer, it's a different question. You have to be research oriented. You should know the state of the art. So here comes the relevance of what Atira has asked me, like what is my favorite thing. So I should be passionate about some subjects. When I say machine learning, it's a broader term. Now everybody says machine learning. Even if you go to physics students, they talk about machine learning. Even if you go to chemistry people, they talk about machine learning. But actually, what is machine learning? So dwell deep into that, then see where you stand and try to talk to people who are actually doing research or actually working in the industry. What kind of people they are seeking. If you want to be in the research, you should have good publications. If you are trying to apply for a PhD in somewhere else, even in India, if you want to apply for IITs, you should have a strong research background. Otherwise, if you want to go for masters, there are so many options. All other countries, like including Australia, they promote master students. If you are good in your academics, you can even get a nice scholarship also.
That would be really helpful.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like I think the European countries, they have changed the rules now, and there are so many opportunities nowadays in the European countries. So many scholarships, even for the bachelors. I'm not sure, but for the masters and PhD students, they are providing a lot of things. But it depends on how you want to progress. Like in Canada and America, it's 4 to 5 to 6 years. Maybe 5 years you have to do your PhD. But here in Australia, it's like it is maximum up to 4 years. So many factors you should consider before taking a decision. And don't stick on to just one thing. Try for all the opportunities. That is what I have to mainly tell you. Try to grab opportunities. Talk to people. Nowadays, you are most lucky to have the internet in your fingertips. So don't waste any chance of getting the information. If you go to the Google and see how you can find a way for PhD, pathway to PhD in any country, it will clearly state you what you have to do.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sure this advice will be really useful for those who want to venture along those paths. So, ma'am, what are your plans next? Will you be coming back to Amrita or continue there in Australia as a teacher or shift to the corporate sector?
Very good question. Thought provoking to me as well. Like, I have no such plans yet, Adira. It's like Amrita, it's like I miss Amrita a lot, Amritapuri a lot to be true. I don't have any such plans as of now. I have 1.5 years more to go. So let me see.
So, ma'am, how are you balancing your life and PhD?
Yeah, it's also a very good point to discuss to you people. Like, it's not like PhD or whatever. When it comes to balancing your work and your personal life, um, there are so many tricks and tips available, and so many people talk about this. But towards the end, it personally comes to us, where how we handle the things together. So, one of the foremost things we need is the support from the people around us. And the other thing you have to do is manage yourself. So, prioritize your tasks, give importance to what is what and what not in your limits. So, that is one main thing. And sometimes it's pretty sure, like, we cannot say, I am 100% okay or something. It's a very narrow balance, Santosh, actually. Especially after working from home, no? It's like you have a lot of things to do. Sometimes you have to finish off your work. Your professor will say you have to give it by this date. So at the same time, your daughter will get sick. So how you manage the things means towards the end, it comes to the mental strength you have, and also how much dedicated you are towards the task you are doing. You cannot leave anything. Everything is equally important to you, but still, how you take the things. For me, it's like I always give a bit more priority towards my daughter, because if I do some small mistakes now in her things, it might affect in her future. So I don't want to do that. So I do my household things, then I do my work. I don't say like I prioritize my household things more. Both are equally important. So in between, you should find time for yourself. It's not working or doing the household chores, but you should have some time in which you enjoy your private space, reading books or going for a walk like that. It will actually relax me.
So, do you indulge in some me time activities? How do you recharge yourself?
Networking. I am a people's person. I like to be with people. So I take time to talk to others. Then do something that you love. Do some gardening or plant some trees. Then recently I started doing the crochet stitching. So some things that make you happy apart from all the responsibilities you have. I try to find some things that make me happy. I started learning how to bake. So like that.
The next question will be a bit of a nostalgia ride for you. Any fun instances you remember from college during your teaching period?
So many instances, especially with your class.
Yes.
So nostalgia incidents as such, I don't think I can say anything specifically, but the funniest part always I noticed is the windows that are always closed in the backside of your classes. Hope you
Yes,
remember
ma'am.
that. I always remember that.
We are the
Yeah.
outstanding class.
Yeah, the outstanding students of my class. I don't say it is funny, but there are so many instances that make me nostalgic or indeed make me happy when I think of my teaching experiences. I taught only in Amrita, and it was quite unexpected for me to become a teacher. Whenever somebody used to ask me in my childhood, whom you want to become, I never tried to say I wanted to be a teacher. But that is how sometimes life shows up. Like it's quite unexpected, and I was a teacher. That itself is a funniest part for me to think all the time. And the transition from industry to academia, and that also I can share. Like when I came from industry to academia, when I started my career in Amrita Center for Cybersecurity, many things were new to me. Like in TCS, if you have a technical problem, we can directly tell the technical people, they will fix it for you. But in the research center, it was like if my computer has a problem, I have to fix it on my own. And after coming there, I started hearing about the words like paper, publication, like that. Till that time, for me, the paper was just newspapers, Indian Express, Hindu, or anything. It took some time for me to realize that this is how the academic things are going on. Then, for me to come into that track, it was a challenging thing. So that is why I pointed out before, like, make yourself a decision first. Where will you want to go? So now, anyway, all the universities, they focus on the publication stuff and all. You know all these things. So, but still, where you want to keep yourself.
So, ma'am, what made you to choose Amma as your spiritual guru?
I did not choose Amma as my spiritual guru, Santosh. It happened in that way. From my early childhood, I know Amma. I have been brought up with the stories from Amma. My father was a spiritual person, truly, and he used to visit the other Mahatmas like Sati Sai Baba, Mai Amma, and other people. So, all the things that happen inside our family and the people who come there also, they talk about these things. And I studied in Chinmaya Vidyalaya. So, since I know Amma from my early childhood, for me, Amma was my guru.
What's your view on spirituality?
So it's a pretty much difficult question to answer for people like me, maybe. I can tell you some things that I always keep in mind. Like, whatever I can do for some people who are struggling, or even a smiling face can make some people happy. So, whenever we talk about spirituality, people think like going straight away under a tree and sit and start meditating. No, it's not the essence of spirituality. So, when you integrate your materialistic thoughts along with the things that is needed for your self growth to make your inner self strong, then only you become a complete human being. So, in your prayers also, you say like Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. So, it's nothing but it's asking for taking you from the darkness to the light. So that is what actually you have to do. Whenever you do some action, do it with awareness, complete awareness. So if you take a pen in your hand and keep it on the shelf, just be aware in your mind that I took the pen in my left hand and kept it on the shelf. It will improve in many ways. Even though it's a smaller thing, it will improve in many ways. It will make you aware of many things around you. If you practice these things, being aware of yourself and your actions, your words, it makes you a better person. So, when you are able to improve yourself as a better person from your current situation, it leads to your improvisation of the self. So, these are the things that young people like you should be able to imbibe in your lives. Like when we hear people telling about long lectures on spirituality or satsang, we may not be able to listen to that, or we may not be patient enough to hear their words. But one thing you have to make available in your lives, or you have to practice, is be a good person. Whatever happens, you have to be a good person. Sometimes you should be calm enough. In some situations, you may not be able to do that. You will be angry. But how can you avoid that? If you start your industry now, there may be situations where other people will be behaving very badly to you. Till now, you were college students, everybody were really nice. Your teachers, because you know them personally, your friends, you know them personally. But when you go into a world, now you are actually going to face the real world. So now the importance of spirituality comes into picture. So it doesn't mean like you pray, you light the lamp every day or anything. Just sit quietly in a place where you are comfortable, close your eyes, be calm. That's the simple way of meditation. This is what my father used to tell me from the childhood. Do meditation like this. Make your mind calm. Try to be calmer all the way. It might help you in some way. And one more interesting thing that Amma always says is beware of karma phalam. Everybody talk about karma yoga. Even in Bhagavad Gita, we have karma yoga. Like karma yoga simply means like do your actions as a divine thing. Whatever you do, completely dedicated it to the Almighty. I did my part, now it's your part. So don't expect any results there. Even if it's good or bad, take it as such. Similarly, there is one more thing, it's karma bhalam. That is a fruit of your actions. Simply, if we say it's nothing but what you sow is what you reap. These are not big religious things or big things to mind in your mind. These are simple things that you should practice in your daily life. And you should have a helping mind. Be empathetic. This will help you to be a better individual also. So it's not like I'm telling all these things for making you enlightened in a single day or in the due course of the life. No, never. Now you're coming into a path in which you have to face your professional worries, your personal worries, other things. So try to make good friends, try to share the things. Sometimes we'll have an inhibition like, oh, yeah, I have some problem. Should I talk to someone? Yes, definitely. Only if you trust that person. So there are some things that you have to know or you should get to know in the due course of life. So in that due course of life, you need some background support, and this is what spirituality helps you to attain.
I guess that's a very good perspective towards spirituality.
So, ma'am, which books impacted you the most, and any book recommendations for us?
Yeah, when you ask me like that, the book that comes into my mind is Eternal Values for a Changing Society by Swami Rangadhananda. That is, he's a monk from the Sri Ramakrishna Mission, and in that book, he very nicely portrays how you have to be a good person. It's not a spiritual book or it's not a religious book or anything.
Mhm.
It's a very practical guide towards the right living. So it's a consolidation of all the teachings and lectures of Swami Vivekananda, and he nicely details about the relevance of Gita in one's life, what Gita does and all. So it's easily understandable also, very nicely written in good language. Actually, this book was part of our value education during my bachelor's.
Oh, right.
So, from your experience, what advice do you give those who are joining the corporate sector and also to the freshers who are starting their engineering?
To the freshers, first we will just focus on them. Like they are just starting, so they have endless opportunities in front of them. So it's not like towards the end of my studies, I will decide what I am going to be. No, you have to think about your future right now. It's in your hands. So just see yourself what you want to do. If you want to be a successful professional, you have to make yourself prepared for that from your first year itself. So as far as I know, your curriculum, it's well built. Even though we think like, why I am studying all these subjects, it's not a question of mugging up all the things or doing whatever we do as part of the assignments or anything. Just focus on your studies. Try to understand the importance of the courses or the degree you are going to get towards the end. What you are going to do with it? Why did you join for such a degree? If you are quite passionate on that, try to grab the opportunities within the campus and around you. Maximum exploit the available things around you. That's what I have to tell the freshers. For those who are getting into the industry, first of all the best wishes for each one of you. And similarly, try to put all the efforts you can to become a better professional. So till this time, you had exams, you did a lot of work, you had assignments, everything. From now on, you are responsible for what you are going to do. You are going to be a team player. Now, your outputs are actually valuable. So, try to be a good software professional and try to improve your skills in all the way possible, the interpersonal skills, your programming skills, and get updated all the time. That is a main challenge you face in computer science. You have to be updated all the time because things are changing day by day nowadays. So read something and get to know the things.
Yes, ma'am. Now we'll have the final question. This is kind of like, what is your take on? There is this question, right? If whether the glass is half empty or half full. What is your take on it? Which team are you on? Is the glass half empty or is the glass half full?
I should be smart enough to answer you. See, I feel it is half full because I always think in a point like I have miles to go. So I filled it half now. There is much more for me to fill. It's not empty. I will try to fill it to the fullest.
Yes, ma'am. That's really a nice answer to the question.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you, ma'am, for joining with us today. I'm sure that all of us will find your insights very useful in our path ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Sandosh and Atira, for inviting me. It was quite a happy moment for me also to get your mail with such an invitation. It was quite unexpected.
Thank you, ma'am.